When I was about 11, I like to tell this story. Uh, that we had a new associate pastor that came to the parish, and he noticed that there was no youth group, and he was a young, kind of very zealous, 1970s kind of pastor or priest, and he
Hmm.
invited all the young people in the parish to a retreat. I had never been to a retreat. I didn't know what a retreat was. My mom packed me and my brother, my sister up, and we went to this weekend retreat, and it was a charismatic retreat. And if you know anything about the charismatic renewal, it's like
Yes, yes, yes.
not the maybe not the first thing you want to expose an 11-year-old to, but I can tell you, Jermaine, I actually don't remember very much about this weekend, but I remember one night, and I'm assuming that it was the Saturday
Mm.
night that we were, and it wasn't everybody. It couldn't have been everybody. There were maybe about 12 or 15 of us in a classroom-sized room, standing, and I remember there were candles and there was music, but I think the music was actually singing that the people were singing, and we were all young. I mean, I was probably the youngest around at
Hmm.
11, and maybe the oldest was 18 or 20. I mean, we were young. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
if the priest was there, and everybody was praying and praising and worship and speaking in tongues and singing in tongues, and I can tell you that that is the most beautiful thing that I have ever heard in my life. Now I know that we were probably standing around the Blessed Sacrament. At the time, I didn't know. I'd never seen a
Hmm.
monstrance in my life.
Hmm.
Um, I'm assuming that we were in adoration. And I remember, and I still remember that feeling that it was like, this is a little bit of heaven right here. I don't know how to describe it because it could have
Yeah.
been a very weird thing when you think of people speaking in tongues, and it wasn't. It was beautiful. And I've never experienced that again. I've experienced similar, but never again. So I think that
Nothing
that
to that
feeling,
degree of like,
no, 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 not at
oh
all.
wow.
And I mean, I think that God gives us kind of those gifts, those little mountaintop experiences, and you're not
Hmm.
supposed to have them all the time. You have them. It's like, I'm here. This is, and I was young, and I think that really, you asked me where does the journey begin? So I jokingly said in my baptism, but that's, I think, when it really begins. And
Hmm.
I've told that priest who organized that retreat, I've told him that it's his fault that I'm a deacon, because about probably 2 or 3 years after that. So we
Hmm.
were part of this youth group, charismatic youth group. We were part of a music group at church. I was, I learned to play a lot of musical instruments actually in church. And this guy who was the older brother of one of the girls in the group, he was a doctor, and sometimes he'd come and play with us and, hang out with us. One day he's vested and preaching, and
Oh.
I thought he was like a medical doctor. Like, what are you doing? He had been ordained a permanent deacon, and I
Hmm.
was 12 or, probably 12 years old. And I remember like that really stuck with me.